morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and here is your detailed forecast update for December 29th, 2024. We've got severe thunderstorms expected across the southeast of Queensland, a thunderstorm outbreak as well expected across central parts of Queensland, heavy rainfall also on the cards of central and far northern Queensland, a thunderstorm outbreak also expected later on into the forecast period across New South Wales, and heat waves extending over in the west. All of that plus more coming up in today's weather forecast. If you are brand new to the channel, please consider subscribing, but let's get stuck straight into things today over in the southeast of Queensland. Beginning the video off talking about the severe thunderstorm risk over the coming couple of days. Last night, certainly some interesting stuff happened. We did have some good thunderstorms extend across the southeastern and central Queensland coastline, with a couple of good cells also extending into the northeast of New South Wales. Severe thunderstorms outside of Lismore last night. They weren't as powerful as we initially expected, but certainly they still did pack a punch in terms of the rainfall. Rainfall accumulations overnight topped out at about 40 millimetres across some locations along the Sunshine Coast. Let me know in the comment section down below if you picked up any more rainfall than that. Tonight will be a little bit more tamer across the southeast of Queensland. You can see some thunderstorms still expected to fire up later on into the afternoon. Some of them could actually pack a bit of a punch adjacent to the Sunshine Coast. You can see outside of Maroochydore and Gympie here on the high-resolution convective forecast models that there are some actually gnarly cells in this area here. What I am expecting these thunderstorms to kind of look like is just that slow-moving kind of convective pulse thunderstorm stuff that upscales pretty quickly into severe thunderstorm stuff. These severe thunderstorms will be slow-moving, heading towards the northeast, bearing the heavy rainfall and damaging wind threat. I don't really see a large hailstone threat tonight. I really don't think that that is on the cards for at least the southeast of Queensland. If you were to take a look further up into the northern parts of southeastern Queensland and then into the central areas of Queensland around Billawheeler and then up towards Dingo, Emerald and Rolleston, there will be a couple of good thunderstorms in these areas here, but for the most part it looks like just evening pulse thunderstorms firing up. Some of them will go big and make the risk of heavy rainfall probably a bit of a severe one, especially for locations extending between a line of Emerald up to about Moranbah and Glendon outside of Mackay. That will be especially quite later on into the night by the looks of things. But yeah, if we flick it back to the main forecast models here, you can see a couple of good thunderstorms are expected as that sea breeze kind of rolls in at about 4 to 6 p.m. For a line extending between Billawheeler up to about Claremont. And these thunderstorms will stick around for a little bit. In fact, they do last quite late on into the evening, upscaling pretty quickly into what could become a little bit of a squall line in some areas. And it looks like that they will, like I said, present that risk of heavy rainfall. Nothing crazy expected tonight. If you get the right thunder cell, you'll probably pick up about 40 or 50 millimetres of rainfall. For the most part, a lot of locations are going to be looking at another dry night. There will be some good observations here and there, somewhere between sort of that 10 and 25 millimetre. And like I said, maximum rainfall accumulations up to about 40 to 50, maybe even up towards 60 millimetres. But you will have to be pretty lucky to get these thunderstorms. They don't look like they're going to be too ridiculously widespread. It'll be very similar to how last night's thunderstorm outbreak went. Nothing too crazy, just a couple of severe storms here and there. Now, later on into tonight and into early tomorrow morning, you can see some thunderstorms expected to develop along this low-pressure trough that will be extending across the Sunshine Coast's coastline. You can see here that we are expecting some pretty significant thunderstorms to develop early tomorrow morning, and that will also drive some substantial rainfall accumulations ashore. We're going to likely see a very heavy line of showers develop along this trough here and extend very slowly across the Sunshine Coast, heading progressively further north as the morning hours go on. Now, it's going to be one of those weather systems where it doesn't hang around for long. It's only going to be kind of on the radar for about 3 or 4 hours, but it will still pack a punch in terms of the rainfall. Now, when we get these shower events that kind of drive the rainfall ashore, you can be talking about some really significant rainfall accumulations. We saw it just a month ago with 155 millimetres in the Brisbane metro area, and we could be seeing it again tomorrow with some of these showers and thunderstorms here. Accumulations could be anywhere sort of between that 10 and 60 or 70 millimetre mark. You can see adjacent to Maroochydore, rainfall accumulations inland up to about 80 millimetres, but that should probably be thunderstorm focused later on tonight. We're taking a look at a convective forecast model here, so of course take this rainfall forecast with a very heavy pinch of salt, and you can pretty much disregard all of the speckly stuff further inland here. It's only the really heavy stuff that we're looking at. But this is to give you an idea of the showers that could be coming ashore here. If you get under the right shower, you could be looking at another 50 millimetres or so, and it could come through in a pretty heavy burst of rainfall too. Again, definitely something to keep in the back of your head. The surface trough is also being picked up by the Eastern Bear forecast model. You can see that they're suggesting up to about 50 millimetres or so adjacent to Maroochydore. Maroochydore itself expecting about 20 to 30 millimetres, and then the northern areas of Brisbane, just a couple of drops of rainfall here and there. Noosa expecting about 15 millimetres, but again, nothing too crazy there. It doesn't look like this system, regardless of how it develops, if it does develop at all, that's another question entirely. It doesn't look like it's going to cause significant problems in terms of flooding, but it certainly could still present some heavy rainfall that might catch a few people people off guard early tomorrow morning. I know it's not something that many people will be talking about in the meteorology world. Anyway, so basically does it for the next 24 hours at least. You can see later on tomorrow afternoon we do get a very nice thunderstorm outbreak into interior parts of central Queensland around sort of the Edderswald-Taroom and Billawheeler area. And in fact, we could be seeing some storms here that really do pack a punch, firing up by around the early afternoon hours at around sort of midday to about 1 o'clock. These thunderstorms here will very quickly pack a punch, and it really is just perfect conditions. We've got that cool dry air sweeping in from the southeast here, adjacent throughout the Sunshine Coast. We've got that warm, moist air streaming in from the north, from the Coral Sea, and then we've got that warm, dry air sweeping in from interior parts of Australia, and it's all going to converge basically with this low-pressure system right over the top of Taroom, and that will give way to some gnarly, severe thunderstorms. They will start off pretty slow throughout the afternoon, just slow-moving pulse thunderstorms with the risk of heavy rainfall, damaging winds, and large hailstones. A couple of supercell thunderstorms also possible as well throughout the course of tomorrow afternoon, but they'll upscale very quickly by the looks of things into a pretty big squall line. You can see a squall, or at least a very heavy line of some intense thunderstorms expected to extend from locations around sort of Claremont right down through the central Queensland coastline, including locations such as Rockhampton, Gladstone, Agnes Water and Bundaberg later on into the evening, with a couple of showers expected with all of those locations just named. The thunderstorms will be at their most severe further inland around the Claremont, Emerald, Dingo and Rolleston area. Just in this general pocket here, we're likely to see the most severe thunderstorms. We'll also likely see a couple of thunderstorms around the Billawheeler area that pack a punch, and down towards Edderswald and Taroom we'll also likely see some good thunderstorms down there. And then much further inland out towards Tambo and Augathella, we'll also possibly see a couple of good thunderstorms there. But just in this general area here, we're expecting the absolute worst of these thunderstorms, and they could be very severe indeed, with heavy rainfall, damaging winds and large hailstones. Really good conditions for these thunderstorms. Instability is looking pretty high, especially into the early afternoon. Powered by this low-pressure system that will sit around Augathella, there's going to be plenty of instability dragged down from the north in those values at around 2 to 2,500 joules per kilogram of available air for these thunderstorms to really make the most of. Again, an arbitrary number, but a very good number indeed for these thunderstorms. When you start talking about these oranges and reds colours on these maps, you can really make sense of a good thunderstorm outbreak that looks to be in the making. Very good rainfall accumulations as well expected from a weather event like this, and even the forecast models, the major ones, are picking up on it, and you can see 3-day rainfall accumulations to round out 2024 will be sort of around that 25 to sort of 50 or 60 millimetre mark. Outside of Billawheeler, it's a little bit higher, up to about 70 millimetres. They're expecting some decent thunderstorms tonight, and then some really good thunderstorms tomorrow, and then it should calm down a little bit for New Year's Eve. But you can see these 3-day rainfall accumulations looking pretty healthy indeed across the southeastern and the south central parts of Queensland. Of course, this is from thunderstorms, so take the forecast with a very heavy pinch of salt. Thunderstorms are notoriously difficult to predict, and again, we do our best every day with the thunderstorm forecast here, but things can change pretty dramatically. Tuesday, expecting a much lighter day in terms of these thunderstorms. A couple of severe ones possible here and there, especially much further inland out towards Tambo and Jericho. And then along the southeastern fringes of Queensland and into the scenic rim, we'll also likely see a couple of severe thunderstorms for heavy rainfall, but I wouldn't be expecting anything crazy either. Looks like some really good thunderstorms far up into the northeastern parts of New South Wales, but we do have a separate outbreak to talk about there, so we'll get to those thunderstorms in just a little bit. And then later on Tuesday night, we see a low pressure system develop just offshore here from southeastern Queensland. That'll continue to spark those thunderstorms late into Tuesday night, into very early Wednesday morning to ring in 2025. And these thunderstorms here, like I said, could then start to really pile on some of the rainfall across the southeast of Queensland. It looks like later on into the night, the thunderstorms will drop the risk of intense rainfall, but it will still be moderate and certainly could still deliver some very healthy rainfall accumulations later on Tuesday night. But that's going to be chat for another forecast update. Let's actually take a look at this low pressure system now while we're in the southeastern corner of New South Wales. This low pressure system is expected to be responsible for some pretty heavy showers that we're going to be seeing in the first week of 2025. You can see it will join up with a trough system that's expected to extend across Queensland. That will fire up some good thunderstorms on New Year's Day to welcome in 2025. In fact, it looks like we could get a couple of really severe ones on New Year's Day outside of Charters Towers down to Jericho into this area of Queensland here. Very remote part of Queensland, but still plenty of good thunderstorms look to be on the forecast here. In fact, they could be very severe indeed. Instability values are going to be very high into the early afternoon hours as well. You can see here instability values on the convective available potential energy model around sort of that 2 to 2,500 joules per kilogram of available air for these thunderstorms, looking really, really good, at least on the forecast by the looks of things on Wednesday. And even on Thursday as well, those showers beginning to pipe up across the central coast of Queensland, and they're going to be developing from a low pressure system over the central towards the far northern areas of Queensland, just dragging in this moisture from the coral Coral Sea. And you can see, starting from Thursday morning, showers expected to develop along the Queensland coastline between Bundaberg up to Townsville. They will be at their heaviest between Mackay and Rockhampton, especially around the West Hill, Serena and St Lawrence area. They will be pretty heavy there at times on early Thursday morning. Those showers will continue throughout Thursday. Probably being at their worst later on Thursday afternoon, just coinciding with how the convective system will work up there. Later on to the afternoon, there'll be plenty of convective energy in the atmosphere for these showers to really blow up into proper thunderstorms. Late on into Thursday night, into Friday morning, the rainfall will also be at its worst. You can see significant rainfall accumulations are expected between Ogmore up to Bowen. We could be talking about 80 millimetres rolling in Thursday night into early Friday morning. Showers continuing through Friday morning, but they are heading progressively further north, as you can see. Still some heavy showers expected around the Ogmore to Mackay area, and then that will turn to heavy showers, tending to rainfall at times actually along the far northern Queensland coastline, extending north to Bowen, and then up to about the Castlereagh coast. You can see through Saturday and Sunday some decent rainfall accumulations also expected to begin mounting up there. Later on Sunday night into Monday morning, the rainfall is still running around the Mackay area, so it looks like they're going to be getting 4 days of steady rainfall by the looks of things, and the rainfall continuing up in the far north of Queensland, being at its heaviest on Monday and then continuing through Tuesday and Wednesday. Now, I know that's a pretty brief forecast. I don't want to get into too much detail about how this is going to plan out, because this is still about a week away, so we've got a lot of details left in the forecast models to iron out. And I'm also slightly concerned just in giving a proper forecast again, considering the uncertainty that we've had regarding this rainfall system over the last couple of days, and the fact that the rainfall forecast has actually been bumped down slightly from yesterday's forecast update. Nonetheless, let's take a look at how much rainfall is expected into the first week of 2025. From the 1st to the 7th, you can see peak rainfall accumulations can be hovering around that 100 to 200 millimetre mark. We'll start from the south and head further north, so from Bundaberg and Agnes Water and Gladstone and Rockhampton, where those showers are expected to pipe up on Wednesday and Thursday. They will clear out on Thursday by the looks of things. Nothing heavy expected. Bundaberg about 30 millimetres, Gladstone and Agnes Water up to about 50 millimetres of rainfall from 2 days of showers. That's not going to feel like too much rainfall. Rockhampton as well, about 50 millimetres, but closer to the coastline around Yeppoon, we could be talking about up to about 70 or 80 millimetres of rainfall there. Again, it looks like Yeppoon is going to be about the furthest south that these showers are going to be at their most intense. Where they will be at their most intense is for locations between Ogmore, which is expecting about 80 millimetres on this forecast, up to Proserpine. That's where the heaviest showers are going to be, culminating around the Proserpine and Mount Gargett area. You can see peak rainfall accumulations here expected to be in excess of 170 millimetres and possibly up to about 225 millimetres. I reckon that this forecast might be a little bit light on with the rainfall by the looks of things. Clearview and St Lawrence expecting about 150 millimetres, West Hill as well about 130 millimetres, Mackay expecting up to about 150 millimetres, Gargett likely a lot higher than what this forecast is suggesting, considering the mountainous and elevated nature there, about 130 millimetres on this forecast, but I wouldn't be surprised if they picked up 200 millimetres. Proserpine is a huge wild card at this time, because it looks like the majority of the showers are going to be coming in from the east here, and if they head east, Proserpine is just protected enough by the Whitsundays and Hamilton Island not to pick up significant rainfall accumulations. But if for any reason we see the winds swing around to a bit more of a southeasterly pattern, and that is a possibility now on Sunday and Monday, when the rain will actually be at its heaviest on both the 5th and the 6th of January respectively, Proserpine could then pick up some really significant rainfall accumulations. So the 50 millimetres here is a very loose one by the looks of things. They could get up to about 250 millimetres if the winds swing around from the right direction and bring the rainfall there. And then up into the far north of Queensland, Bowen expecting about 50 millimetres. Area's a little bit of a wild card, again about 100 millimetres expected there, and depending on what showers fire up, you can see some significant rainfall is expected to pile on throughout Sunday, Monday and Tuesday, the 5th, 6th and 7th of January, between Townsville up to Cairns. Townsville expecting about 100 millimetres. It'll be interesting to see how the rain dome plays into effect there. Ingham, Cardwell, Tully and Innisfail at least 150 millimetres. I don't really see a world where far north Queensland from a setup like this doesn't pick up 250 millimetres in at least one or two locations. That's just how the weather world rolls around there. Some significant falls also expected up into the Daintree rainforest, up to about 100 millimetres there, and I use that term significant very loosely, just considering how much rainfall some of these locations can get. Now, there will be that trough line, like I said, further inland. That's also going to provide the central coast of Queensland with some much needed rainfall. You can see really heavy accumulations expected to culminate here outside of Charters Towers from a week of thunderstorms basically firing up. And if you want a comparison to this, look back 2 weeks ago in the Pilbara region when that tropical low was heading across the West Australian coastline. We're just going to see that week of thunderstorms fire up, with convective activity expected all day every week for the first week of 2025, and as such, rainfall accumulations will pile on pretty quickly. Of course, it's not going to look like this in the end. The rainfall forecast suggesting 7 days of 20 millimetres. There'll be days where some of these locations pick up 50 millimetres and then days where they pick up squat. So the rainfall accumulations up there, again, take with a very heavy pinch of salt as you get further inland. Charters Towers expecting about 120 millimetres on this forecast. I think that might be a little bit bullish. I reckon about 60 to 80 millimetres would be a much better number for Charters Towers, but still some good thunderstorms expected in this area nonetheless. And as such, those rainfall accumulations have been really elevated across this forecast model. Good falls also expected into the Cape York Peninsula from thunderstorms. Any questions or comments, please do let me know in the comment section down below. I'm just going to get through this next couple of days of thunderstorms in the southeast of Queensland. Then I'm going to focus all of my energy onto the central Queensland showers and rainfall up here. That's certainly something worth talking about, that's for sure. Some heavy rainfall accumulations expected that will impact a lot of people. So if you've got any questions or comments about it, please let me know in the comment section down below. Now let's talk about showers and storms across the central coast of New South Wales. If we push this rainfall forecast out to the 12th of January, you can see significant rainfall accumulations are expected over the 14-day forecast period. In fact, some really heavy falls are possible outside of Coffs Harbour and into the far northern corners of New South Wales. You can see peak rainfall accumulations will be from thunderstorms. We are expecting a couple of thunderstorms, like I said, on Tuesday. A good outbreak is actually expected to extend between Wollongong and the Queensland-New South Wales border, right down to Bathurst and Lithgow, actually adjacent to Sydney. It looks like New Year's Eve will be a bit of a warm one in interior parts of New South Wales, and as such, those temperatures are going to promote some pretty good convective activity across interior parts of northeastern New South Wales, giving way to what could look like a pretty significant, severe thunderstorm outbreak. Again, convective available potential energy values looking really healthy across interior parts of New South Wales, around Walgett, Lightning Bridge and Coonamble. Not that they're expecting any significant severe thunderstorms. Those convective available potential energy values still pretty high, at least on a Tuesday morning, with those thunderstorms firing up further towards the east of that low pressure system that's going to develop around the Walgett and Arubri area. These thunderstorms could pack a punch, like I said, with heavy rainfall, damaging winds and the chance of medium to large size hailstones, but I wouldn't get your hopes up for a widespread severe thunderstorm outbreak. It doesn't look like it's going to be that intense, that's for sure, but we will revisit this on Tuesday morning with a detailed forecast for New Year's Eve. It looks like these thunderstorms, though, and this is good news, will stay out of Sydney and especially Sydney Harbour, and it's going to be a very pleasant viewing experience on Tuesday night for those fireworks display. It doesn't look like they're going to get any showers or any rain delays for those fireworks. Those winds are going to be calm out of the east, and it looks like the temperature as well is going to be a very pleasant 20 or 21 degrees Celsius, so a very pleasant viewing experience, that's for sure. Pushing the forecast forward, you can see Wednesday thunderstorms, Thursday widespread thunderstorms expected into the northeast, Friday, Saturday and Sunday looking pretty dry by the looks of things. We could see a couple of thunderstorms here and there along the border, and some of them that could go severe. It's later on in the forecast period, especially Tuesday the 7th of January, where we do see another outbreak of thunderstorms here from a low pressure system that's going to sweep through, and as such that's going to bring plenty of rainfall and thunderstorms into the central and the northeastern coast of New South Wales. The forecast on this still a little bit murky, considering it is a week away, especially in terms of exact numbers for thunderstorms and where exactly they are expected, but I do imagine that there will be an outbreak over the Blue Mountains, extending up from about Bathurst up to about Grafton. Some good rainfall accumulations also possible here. These thunderstorms look like they are going to be rain heavy, and that'll be all brought through by a low pressure system / cold front that's going to sweep up, moving all of that hot air that's going to build this weekend out of New South Wales and then give a bit of a cool change, and in the wake of it some good showers also expected. Wednesday, a couple of thunderstorms expected into the northeast. In fact, they could be getting a couple of good showers streaming in along the coastline by the looks of things. A weak low pressure system will develop, but then later on from this the forecast becomes really murky and really uncertain. Still, though, some good thunderstorms expected here and there. It looks like it might be New South Wales, or at least the northeastern corner of New South Wales. Time to shine as we get into the first couple of weeks of 2025. Just based off the thunderstorm forecast, it certainly looks like some interesting stuff is going to happen and go down, especially across the northeast. If I've left you confused or if you've got unanswered questions, please let me know about that in the comment section down below. Same deal with Queensland as well, if I've left you confused about the forecast up there. I know that these forecasts can move very quickly at times and things can change pretty dramatically as well, and if you blink, you'll miss it. That's just the way the meteorology world goes. I'd love to speak a lot slower than this in these videos, but they'll end up running for an hour and I wouldn't be able to release them until the afternoon for New South Wales and Queensland. Let's keep things tropical and talk about a tropical low offshore from Western Australia. We have had tropical low 07 stream around and kind of hover around the Cocos Keeling Islands for the last couple of days. It has since weakened overnight. It did get a tropical low forecast actually from the Bureau of Meteorology, which I was very surprised at in the beginning, considering they didn't really give it a shot of forming at all. This never got to tropical cyclone status. It never really attained gale force winds as well, and if you take a look at the system right now in the satellite imagery, that's its low pressure system. That's where its convection is. It is sheared to tears and looking really sad now in the middle of the Indian Ocean. It's not expected to do anything over the coming couple of days. It is now this system over here, this system system's time to shine. This will be tropical low 08U, and we are expecting some decent things from this system. Unfortunately for cyclone lovers, it is far too broad to attain tropical cyclone status, at least on both the forecast and also by the looks of things just how it is panning out in real life. This system will develop as a really broad low pressure system throughout New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. You can see it here reaching a peak intensity actually of about 998, 999 millibars throughout the 1st and the 2nd of January. It will have a very low chance of getting to tropical cyclone status. In fact, the Bureau of Meteorology is actually giving it about a 10% chance at this time, which I think is a very valid forecast. But if we were to take a look at wind speeds for this tropical low, you can see it's not even close to tropical cyclone status, with peak winds of about 20 to 25 knots, probably a little bit stronger than that at times. It really doesn't get close to tropical cyclone status at all, and the Bureau of Meteorology also requires that systems have gale force winds covering at least half of the storm's quadrants, and this system never comes really close to that either. It doesn't even come close to getting gale force winds. So unfortunately, it looks like tropical low 08U is not going to become a tropical cyclone, and nothing interesting will really pan out of this system until at least it gets into the southwest Indian Ocean, where it might do some funny stuff there and become a tropical cyclone, but again, the forecast is looking really murky for that in the long range. One thing's for sure is that this weekend that this system is going to drag those temperatures up across Western Australia, as we always get that with a tropical low. Those temperatures do start to increase across Western Australia. It's a sneaky coincidence, but it's pretty easily explained. This system will drag that west coast trough further out, and as such, those temperatures will rise. It'll be a warm one today. Perth expecting a top of about 34 degrees. I think that might be along the little bit of the lower side as well, just considering how the heat has already started to build, but we will get a bit of an earlier sea breeze, which will be very welcome indeed. Slightly cooler tomorrow by the looks of things. Temperatures up to about sort of that 30 to 31 degrees Celsius mark in Perth before they warm up again for New Year's Eve. A top of 37 expected across the southwest, and then 41 expected to welcome in 2025. It'll be a really hot start with another west coast trough expected to bring very warm temperatures to the southwest of Western Australia. Those temperatures will continue throughout Thursday as well. You can see really culminating across the south coastal region on Thursday, but it looks like a very welcome high pressure system will sweep in and push this low pressure trough out of the way, and as such those temperatures will begin to drop into the first couple of days of 2025. A very, very welcome change indeed, but it looks like January, it's going to be a scorcher across the southwest of Western Australia, at least in fact over much of Western Australia. I'm not seeing reprieve to the temperatures, or I'm not seeing a run of cool days right through the first 2 weeks of 2025, unfortunately. I know that's going to make a lot of people very upset, because we in Perth are already very, very sick of the heat. Spare a thought, though, for those outside of Roebourne and Onslow, tops of 48 up to about 49 expected into the first week of 2025. Stock standard stuff up there, but still that is bordering on the edge of very hot, and also very warm tops expected across the interior parts of South Australia between 46 and 47 degrees, and same deal for Western Australia as well as we enter the first week of 2025. Anyways, this video has churned for long enough. Thank you so much for watching this video in the dying days of 2024. Just 2 more updates to make now until 2024 is over and we head into 2025. Very exciting stuff indeed. Let me know if I've scrambled your head in the comment section down below. If you've got any questions or comments regarding the specifics of the forecast as well, please do let me know in the comment section down below. A special shout out to the channel sponsors. Their names are on screen right now. Again, I could not run this show without them. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.